In this lecture, we're going to learn about namespace aliases. And this is a facility we have in the C++ language to set up reasonable names for namespaces that would otherwise be super crazy to work with. Suppose we have a pair of nested namespaces like you see here. We have level 1, we have level 2, we have level 3, and inside we have a constant that we would like to access in our program. One way we have to do this is to use the syntax here and say level 1, level 2, level 3, and this is super crazy. Suppose you are nesting your namespaces to 15 or 20 levels and you have to type all this craziness. This is really bad, and C++ provides a way out of this nightmare, and that is namespace aliases. The syntax to do that is super easy. You just say namespace. You say the name that you want to use to access your things, and then you say equals, you put an equal sign, and then you put your namespace that you don't want to type 1,000 times. Once you do that, then you can use the syntax like this, and this is going to work really well. You don't have to type all this craziness multiple times. You can just say data and access your data inside that namespace, and it is going to work really well. Now that you know this, we're going to head over to Visual Studio Code and play with this a little more. Okay, here we are in our working folder. The current project is Namespace Aliases. We're going to grab our template files pretty quick. We're going to put them in place. And we are going to open up this little guy in Visual Studio Code by dragging and dropping here. We're going to open the main CPP file. We're going to clean up a little bit. We are going to close the left pane here, and we're going to put in our crazy nested pair of namespaces. We have a namespace called level 1, we have a namespace called level 2, we have a namespace called level 3, and inside level 3 we have a constant called weight, and it has a value 33.33, and we want to access this little guy in our main CPP file. That's the task here. One way you can do this is to say stdc out and say weight. And the syntax to do that is super crazy. You say level 1, and you say colon, colon, you say level 2, you say colon, colon, you say level 3, and then you can have access to your thing, and you can print that out. Okay, so this is going to work, but I think I'm not the only one who thinks that this syntax really is crazy. And if you happen to have nested your namespaces to even more levels, that's going to be super crazy. You're going to say namespace colon colon namespace colon colon maybe 10 times or even 20 times. It's possible. So this is really bad, but it is going to work. Let's try and build this first. If we bring this up, we're going to see that the build is good. We can bring up a terminal to run our program, and we're going to see that we're going to get our weight printed out. Weight is 33.33. This is working. But we don't want to really do this 1,000 times. What we can do is use namespace aliases. And the syntax to do this is super easy. All you have to do is say namespace, and we're going to get autocomplete that we don't want here. And we're going to specify our own name for the namespace. Let's say we want to call this data like we did in the slides. We're going to put an equal sign, and then we're going to put the craziness that we want to avoid, and we're going to do that only once. Okay, so once we do this, now we can avoid what we have here, and we can go down and say stdc out, and say weight, and all we have to do is data, and say weight. You see that this is really easy. It's not going to be nested crazy levels that we did here. This is super easy to access, and if you want to use this facility, now you know about it. We're going to build our program to make sure this is actually working. We're going to see that the build is good. We can clear and run Rooster. We're going to see that we have the same thing, but we're not typing all these namespaces here because that's going to drive you crazy. You can even use this multiple times in your application. We can copy this, for example, and put that below here. That's going to work. Let's close this. We don't need that. If we build, we're going to see that the build is going to be good. As you see here, we can clear and run Rooster, and this is going to print our thing. This is working just fine. Again, the message here is that you can use namespace aliases. The syntax is what you see here. You say the keyword namespace, you say the name you want to give your namespace, and then you specify the namespace that you don't want to type multiple times, and you're just going to be using the name here to access things inside that namespace. This is really all I had to share in this lecture. I hope you found it interesting. We are going to stop here in this one. In the next one, we're going to try and recap what we saw in this chapter. Go ahead and finish up here and meet me there.